Yeah.
I will be in yours.
Suzanne is our treasurer who will
No,
collect
you wouldn't. I'll just go up.
just $30 a year.
Watch.
And that $30
Yeah.
besides giving you income through the grant,
All right.
Go sit beside Ralph.
whatever it
Is that Ralph Lemon?
gives you the free newsletter that we publish every year and the journal. And I have copies of the journal with me, so as you become a member, you can get those years enticing.
How about the secret handshake?
You know that you have to pay extra. Those are private lessons.
Directly to Larry. Sign up to Larry.
Also, with the membership, you get a discount on the conference.
Right.
And I have a few past copies of the journal, 19, the blue one and the gray one.
Issues 4 and 5, we have copies
Yes,
left.
and they're, if you don't have them and weren't a member at the time, they're $5 each.
Okay.
Okay. Next, and is this? No. For some reason, I was thinking it's the final session, but no, not over yet. The next session is an exploration of the beat, presented by Daniel Nagrin.
First off, I have to thank you for last night. That was one of the best evenings I've ever spent in theater. It was a moment that was full of delight and surprise. And the better you got, the more frightened I got. The whole outrageousness of my standing before you discussing rhythm. It's pretty far up. But I put my foot into it, so here goes. Quite a long time ago, back in the 40s, I was teaching jazz class at Carnegie Hall, and they had given me an accompanist guy to tell me on that. And every time I would give, he would go, why are you speeding up on me all the time? Oh, I'm sorry. And all through the class, there would be this jump. So, when the class was over, I said, we have to talk here. We didn't have to talk. If you're going to work with me, we have to understand each other. What I demonstrate is what you have to do, and you're constantly getting ahead of me. We had copies. I'm starting to work with a pop group. Bob, none of us play on the beat except the bass. It used to be the drummer would go choop with a choop with a choop with a choop, and everybody else would play around the rhythm. Now it's the bass, because everybody in the orchestra could hear the bass, but a lot of people in the audience can't. And we're all learning to jump the beat. This is brand new. I didn't think much about it, except to slow him down. That was it. When we talk about the 40s, and I can't count the number of dance teachers with whom I worked from that time to now. The number of choreographers, the number of musicians. Nobody ever brought this matter up. And it was only a few years ago, about 10 years ago, I heard a discussion about early music. And someone was saying, anybody who plays what they read in early music is not playing early music. And I think there was a discussion on Mozart about certain things that were supposed to be jump or something. And he said, it'll never be music if you play what you read there on the score. began to rattle my head. Then came time I began to teach my solo. And somebody would do something, and I'd say, hey, look, see, it's on two. See, it's on two. He'd go, I said, no, it's on two. It's on two. It's on two. I suddenly heard myself. And I realized one of the reasons I was probably quite successful on Broadway. I was ahead of the beat most of the time. And if you're ahead of the beat, you bring news. Anybody else who does the same movement, you're not going to be seen. You're going to be seen. Which accounts for the characteristic aggressiveness of Broadway performance that explains that energy. And if you don't, forget it. And not that I wasn't right. What mystifies me, every one of you knows what I'm talking about. And what I want to know, is there a conspiracy of silence? Don't you talk to the dance teachers? Somebody give me just a beat like, anybody. I want to hear bop, bop, do, beep, bop, do, beep, boom, bop, do, beep, boom, bop, do, boom, bop, do. I was in music, wasn't I? Huh? Yeah. It's terrible what I just did. And that's the kind of beat which many dancers do in class, and no teacher ever says anything about. And that's the kind of beat that's characteristic of someone who is learning how to dance out of the corner of their eye to know what comes next. You have to be behind the beat because you watch the person who knows. So you have to be. That's dead on the beat. One of them, I got slipped behind. You're seeing the remnants of the dance. That's square on the beat. Once more, please. I make you. I make the beat. I go whoop and you make the sound. So what you got is not something that can be ignored. It's not something where you can sit there as a class is going, and half the class is going, yeah, do, be, yeah, do, be, boom, and the Broadway kid is going, bop, boom, beep, and the whole class is in utter mess. I saw Kenneth with Miller rehearsing 4 young women. He was so mincy bitsy. They were doing a little thing where they were going, good, right away. And he was going over details that just not to be believed. One young woman was significantly behind the beat, and he never said a word. He never picked up on that at all. I'm talking about something that's serious. It's not music. So I'll play games. And the point is, before, after, and on, he's not, no one of them is right. I'll play. Three different people. And making radically different statements. Behind the beat can be a metaphor for being swept along by the music. Behind the beat can be a metaphor of being battered by the music. Behind the beat can be a metaphor for weakness. Or 10,000 other things that your imagination will discover. On the beat is John Philip Sousa at the moment time. Very Berlin. Pa! Stupid! It's like you're with. You're in the center. You're at the right. You're right. And ahead of the beat is a little crazy. You're Broadway dancing, want to attract attention. You're making the music. You're letting it, you're forcing the music out of your body. Your body creates the sound. Ding! Don't play the piano. You have enough things before you. Before we hear the sound, you'll have touched the key. Then after a while there's the sound of that. And it's the microcosmic crumbs of time that is so significant. And it isn't as if you are one or the other. You can just think like this. Now, as Tamiris would say, I'm teaching my grandmother the subject. Teaching my grandmother. Whenever I would say something to Mira, she knew way better than I. She'd say, "Don't teach your grandmother to suck eggs." But anyway, I'll try. I'm telling you what you know. That within a phrase, within a measure, you can get ahead of it, drag it, and so forth. In fact, that's what makes jazz. That's what makes musicality. When you say a certain dance is musical, that's a dance that has an utterly flexible, responsive use of music, living with music, before, after, and on, and with no rigidity. As soon as you get into rigidity, you're a poor dancer, or a poor musician. If you get stuck with any of those things, I'm going to be on the beat because I'm going to, it'll be musical. That's not music. I don't have a lot more to say, except that I want to talk about something entirely different now that I have you. Could I hear from you? Is there anything you want to add, contradict, or tell me to lay off what I've done?
Well, just to say that, the classical definition of rubato from the Romantic period has to do with this same issue that, you have to have that total flexibility of the melodic line. Sometimes you're rushing, sometimes
No,
you're...
vibrato is different. I'm not talking about vibrato. Vibrato is when you slow the tempo down.
You can speed up or slow down.
I speed up and slow it down. I'm talking about dancing against the straight rhythm. How do you...
Well, in the classical definition of rubato, you're supposed to keep the rhythm absolutely strict in the left hand, and it's only that melodic line that, just like the dancer's feet, that can be ahead or behind the beat. Of course, it's not the way it should be done, but that's fine. That's what they said about it.
Most of the romantic, ignore what you just said completely. That's all. So whenever I've heard the word rubato, I assume that tempo actually slows or speeds up. What you just said is music. All those people are bad.
But don't quote me on it.
Huh? Silence is liberty. Wonderland. Yeah, she really played around with it. Yes, sir.
Yesterday, we were watching them doing some exercises, and someone made the comment that a 3 helps to fill out the beat more, and it occurred to me when you were dancing right on the beat, it felt to me that it wasn't being filled out. Did anyone else get that impression? That it was so square that you were just going from point to point, and you couldn't, I had no sense of what was in between.
I wouldn't generalize. I mean, like I said, and I'll repeat myself, you're looking at the remnant of dancing. And it is possible to be square on the beat and be magnificent and musical. And I think what you just said, I won't buy as a generalization. But I can remember seeing a videotape of Nagrin chorus like that. And That was part of there with courtiers all around. I'm sure all of you have seen it one time or another. He is attacking feet with such powerful, vivid energy. And she's dragging behind all the time. Once in a while, she'll get a leg up at the same time. It is not uncommon. This error happening all the time, and I really think somehow, how many of you have ever spoken to a dance teacher in an educated way about something?
Excuse me, a little louder, please.
Huh?
I couldn't quite hear you. What did you say?
What?
I could not quite hear you.
How many of you have educated a dance teacher about this?
I
Good. Good. I have, today I have seen very little of this. And I see dance classes that are rhythmically shocking and muddy.
Well, part of your point is that you need to be aware of what your choices are. I mean, part of the problem is that people aren't even aware that they're doing one or the other.
Right. See, now, I learned when I was teaching dance that I was either ahead or behind or on. I was all over the place. And from then on, I was more careful about what I was telling people was correct. Yes.
I have to relate that. When I was beginning to come to this, frequently I would look at the dancers to try to find the best rhythm. Generally, I'd be looking at the better dancers or the best dancer, and notice that I was speeding up. And I think what I do is I'd adjust to a dancer who was ahead of. What I would do is I'd be adjusting to a dancer who was ahead of the beat, and then I'd catch up to them, and then they'd get ahead of the beat again. And I'd catch up to them.
That's the story.
It was going faster and faster.
That's the story of all young incumbents. Because they have made the error of accepting the term of accomplishment. And this is one term that you as an organization want to outlaw.
But we did.
You want to
Position.
Right. Because as I say, my piano, when I work in the class, I said, when I'm giving the exercise, I'm God. That's it. The minute I say and, you're God. You have to take over and make them do what you saw me do. You make them do it. Don't follow them. Push them. Control them. Kick them in their ass and get them off the ground. And that's the kind of energy you need. So you did get rid of the word?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Anything else?
One thing that came up yesterday was also the fact that when we are watching a movement combination, several of us could perceive the beat in a different way.
It's a big world.
That's true.
That's why,
One of the nice things about watching each other play.
and that's why a perfectly good dance teacher and a perfectly good musician don't get on. You know, because there's a sensitivity that is at odds with each other.
That's also what makes it a hard thing to teach, because in young musicians, I mean, you're talking about something that's very subtle, and in young musicians, you're talking about something that's very subtle.
Yeah.
So that with young musicians, to be able to get them to hear those differences is quite a task. To go also to deal with young dancers and to get them to see the way in which they use their bodies, because it's also something that's really particular to the way in which they live and breathe. I think everybody here does that too. Same approach.
No, when it comes to rhythm, I'm not nice.
It's a dirty.
I just can't stand it. You know, there's so much to say. Being kind is being cruel. You're doing nobody a favor by letting them get away with stuff. Yes.
How do you relate what you've been talking about to just simple jumping? Because I think many of my colleagues will also agree with me that even a very simple jumping exercise, you'll see dancers who are in the air when they're supposed to be on the ground. They're all that, it looks like Mexican jumping beats. And, you know, how do you know?
That's a responsibility of teaching. And what I have found very few teachers recognize that if you take the simple case of Sean's that the beat should be in the air to get people up in the air. Because if the beat is on the ground, you spend too much time on the ground. Cheer ball, cheer ball, cheer ball. Instead of chupara, chupara, chupara. And what confuses me, and it's a slight contradiction in all of this, most modern dance classes run, leap, and the beat is up in the air. Run, leap. Ballet classes tend to have the beat bum, bum, dee, yet they've got monkey celebration. Life is not simple, I'm sorry. I can't simplify it for you. But in ballet, isn't it true in ballet? Much of the beat is down on the floor, not up in the air. That's right, see. No, but whatever. Does that answer you at all, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, the beat is the moment that you're leaving the ground, not the moment that you're landing on the ground. The ground is one thing, they're going down on the beat and up on the up. But the beat is, as you say, getting them off the ground. I know a teacher who stops them and says, "You're making me sick." He gets very, I'm getting seasick because you're all going up and down.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to a technical problem. Most of the great jumpers take shallow clear. Valentin didn't even want his people to put the heels down. While some powerhouses like Andre Levsky used to go, boom, like a plie like this. And then the son of a bitch would just go up and stay there. And he wouldn't even see. I learned something about jumping. Traverse Cunningham and a man named Leon Denis. Both of them excellent elevation. And I was in their classes and I got behind them. I said, oh. And I'm going to give you my point. Oh, Gillespie. Gillespie was one of the strongest men that ever danced. And he would take off from a really deep clear and just go flying. So, we're in a complex. Anyone who tries to clarify everything and simplify it, it's throwing mud in the whole situation. I want to make a comment about conversation. And what I am going to say now is self-serving. But an awful lot of improvisation is music about music. An awful lot of music is music about music. Now, from where I stand, music is one of 10,000 possibilities to make music about. But there is a whole universe around music which many musicians pay no attention to, not whatsoever. The origin of music, I assume, and guess, and most of you assume, is created by people who were worried. Who might have to go out and fight the next day and get killed. And their music helped them do something that stupid as to go out and fight. And they made music to seduce someone for whom they had the heart. And they made music when the crops were growing slowly and they were in danger. I can imagine that some of those flute players on the phone would sometimes get a little delighted by this note and that note, and have some fun doing it. So I'm not belittling what Mozart did. But when you improvise, there's a range of possibilities that you don't explore. And I wrote a book about it. It's called Dance and the Specific Image. One of the wounds of my life is that I have never been able to work consistently with a group of musicians who would be committed to trying the improvisation structures that I developed with the work. And these were structures that were about you to me. And you already have an action. Yes. Right? And there's a way you could act on it, huh? Could it be done in music? Could you do a piece of music about what you'd like to see happen to me? Huh? Wow. One of the things we've got there, I think you don't exploit it when you improvise. You're wonderful. You do the most basic, decent, lovely human thing. You listen to each other. I mean, and that is the beginning of sweetness, is to listen to each other. You don't say it, and you don't hear what anyone else is saying. You're just listening to ba-ba-ba-doo-ba, you're keen, really, with wonderful rhythmic sensibilities, and you find just the place where you can sneak your little you see, and you fit right in it, you're an ecstasy. But you don't know that the person next to you may be dying. Or in love, or you're in love, or you're dying. You pay any attention to that when you're dying. You make music. I got nothing against music, but I'm disturbed by how little attention you pay to what's outside your music. And I'm sure what I'm saying is very untrue about a lot of it. But an awful lot of music I hear is about music, and you know that. ingenuities with Phrygian and Lydian modes. You should read the program. What is it about obscure artists who have the longest program notes of anyone? You know, that's bullshit. They create these things, and then their programs are 6 pages long, explaining what we should be hearing and experiencing. Instead, they lead us, see, 640. So, I have a book called Dance and a Specific Image, and it has 10 pages that are devoted to you, where I have extracted the improvisation exercises that musicians do with musicians. No dance is allowed. This is music that takes place between musicians. These are various structures which came out of a company called The Work. The whole book has about 130. And I've selected about 50 exercises you could do. One, like I say, one of the wounds of my life. Several times I started with some musicians, they got all excited, this wonderful. Next week, hey buddy, I'm sorry, I just loved it, but I got a gig. And I began to learn you can't work with musicians unless you pay. It's impossible. Huh? Because they're always getting gigs. And the thing fell apart. Every time I started, it would fall apart. So I never started up again. Unless somebody gives me nice blood food. And I say to 7 or 8 musicians, I'm going to pay you for 3 months. You do what I say. I won't tell you what to play. I'll just give you a place and a relationship, a situation. I'm going to record you and see, can we make good music out of improvisation? Not inventive music. I mean, that's what pushes an invention, and ingenuity, and virtuosity. Ingenuity, virtuosity. All you have to do is work on it. But there's more than that. We need more from you. And make it palatable. I often go to
Thank you, Dan. From here on out, at least for today, it's pretty much a free afternoon. You can walk to the percussion session. We'll be leaving probably at 3:40. But let's start.